Welcome back to the show, folks. This is the wrap-up, your daily dose of pop culture and movie news, hosted by me, Mr. H Reviews. On today's show, we've got an action-packed show today. We've got Terminator Dark Fate. There's been a TV spot dubbed I'll Be Back. So we'll be taking a look at that. I haven't seen it yet, so I thought we could watch it together and then break it down and discuss it again together. But then also it'd be interesting based off of yesterday's video where I discussed the leaked plot for Terminator Dark Fate. So I won't touch on it too much, but if you want to go watch that video, you can watch it. I won't really spoil anything in this video, but I think in hindsight, it will be more interesting to take a look at this TV spot because we have that new information. The other news today is apparently Gigan, kumonga, and Gamera have been spotted in some concept art for Godzilla King of the Monsters. This is in the official The Making an Art of book by Titan Publishing. So we'll be taking a look at that because I think that'll be interesting to say the least. We can get our kind of thoughts on that, break that down. And then also Magic the Gathering. There's going to be a Netflix TV series. Awesome. So we're going to be taking a look at the announcements for that, breaking that down and giving a good discussion on that. And then we'll wrap it up with some viewer questions. If you guys want to submit your viewer questions to me, Mr. H Reviews, then you can over on the Gmail using the subject line, The Wrap Up, to mrhreviews@gmail.com, and then we can get to that on this daily show. So if you are new here, please do hit subscribe and you can stay up to date on this, the daily wrap-up show of pop culture and movie news. So for timestamps for everything which I have listed, you can see that down below in the description box and also linked below in a pinned comment. So you don't have to listen to me waffle about the stuff you don't want to hear. You can just skip right ahead. But first things first, let's take a look at Terminator Dark Fate. Oh dear. I mean, look, I'm hopeful for this. There's some things which are good about this. Unfortunately, the leaked plot, which came out across the weekend, I did a video on it yesterday, didn't really bode all that well. But I thought, this TV spot came out, loads of people were hammering me to do a video on it. So I thought, let's do it. Let's do a video on this. I haven't seen this yet. The comments coming through about it were not particularly great. And I thought that would be even better to do a video on because then it will open up a better discourse down below in the comments on this video. So let's take a look at it. The quality is pants. It's really, really crap because it is a TV spot. It's been put online and now it's in like 360p, so it's not very good. But let's take a look. This is my first time seeing this as well, so let's take a look at this together. If travel is searching and home has been found, it's the same stuff. I'm not stopping. Let's take a look at Rubber Man. There he is. PS2 CG.
Who are you?
This is the same footage.
My name is Sarah Connor. Why do you care what happens to her? Because I was her. I'll be back.
Is that it? All of that just for that? Oh, well, that was crap, wasn't it? I mean, for goodness sake, don't release a TV spot which is basically the same. It's exactly the same trailer. Except for that bit at the end. And the cutouts of bits of like, oh, you're human. I haven't seen one like you before. You're almost human. All that kind of stuff. This is really disappointed. What a complete waste of my time. It's great to see Linda Hamilton back. Really, really good to see Linda Hamilton back. I will say this with respect to the line, because a lot of people were like, oh, they're whammoning the lines up and things like that. It didn't come across as ham-fisted as I thought it would. I thought it would come across really, really ham-fisted. Let's listen to that again.
I'll be back.
It doesn't sound that bad. That doesn't sound that bad to me. I'm not saying it's an absolutely fantastic trailer, but it doesn't sound like when they throw in lines like this, it can come across really, really bad. Like, let's take a look at The Predator, for instance, when they say, get to the choppers. Obviously, a riff on get to the chopper. It sounded awful. It sounded really, really forced. It sounded ham-fisted and very cliche. And fan servicey. This didn't come across much like that, which is good. But I don't see the point in releasing this at all anyway. But it's good to see her. Like, it's good to see Linda Hamilton back. I think there's something cool about that. She still looks like a badass. She's kind of got a swagger to her and confidence and stuff, which is kind of cool. Look, I can believe the plot leaks. I can believe the plot leaks. So if you want to know what those plot leaks are, I will link yesterday's show down below in the description box, and you can take a look at it there. There's a few issues with this. I mean, look, one of the names right now on here, David Goyer. That's not always that good. You know, the story is by James Cameron, Charles Iglee, Josh Friedman, and David Goyer and Justin Rhodes. But David Goyer is listed first for actually adapting the screenplay. So, obviously they had a story group. James Cameron was part of that. And David Goyer was part of that. And then David Goyer was lead on rewriting, or adapting it for a screenplay. That doesn't necessarily bode particularly well. But I want to hear your thoughts on this. Like, what did you think of this trailer? I've really, really been irritated that it's basically the same footage that we'd already seen. That has annoyed me. And just that tiny little bit at the end. They could have just released that. TV spots are better when you can use the same footage if you mash it up. They've done the same footage in exactly the same order. So it just comes across really cheap and lazy. A good kind of example of that would be anything to do with the Avengers Endgame. They did some good TV spots for there. The Godzilla King of the Monsters, they had some good TV spots for there as well. You know, they used the same footage, but they mashed it up in the order, the sequencing and things like that. It's the same trailer, just with something attached to the end. So it does come across really cheap, really lazy, and not particularly great. But I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know down below in the comments section. Let's talk about Magic the Gathering. Now, I've got two articles for this up today. We've got a kind of an intro article here. Because trying to ascertain the key bits of information for this has been difficult. I can't find anywhere that has listed this as a piece of news has not listed the direct source. I mean, if I scroll down here, the source is Netflix. Okay, well, where's the link then, Screen Rant? Give me the link to go to Netflix to do this. So we'll take a look at this one first. It says Netflix has commissioned a new animated series based on Magic the Gathering. And it will be headed up by Joe and Anthony Russo. Of course, most people will know these guys, the Avengers Endgame. They're on board as executive producers, so it doesn't mean that they're directing it or anything along those lines either. It says the Russos, who are longtime fans and players of the fantasy trading card game, will be joined by Henry Gilroy, who did Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Clone Wars. So that's good. You know, that actually bodes really, really well. And Jose Molina, The Trick, Agent Carter, as lead writers and co-executive producers. So that's kind of good. That's the good part. The Russos, I don't care about in terms of them executive producing this. They're not directing it. They are not necessarily on board as writers either. The lead writers are Henry Gilroy and Jose Molina. So those are the ones that you want to look out for. Those are the ones which will be influencing the show a lot more than Joe and Anthony Russo. It seems like they're probably on board as money and monikers. So they're on board just as the head, kind of title cards, if that makes any sense. Netflix, I can just see them promoting it like, from the guys that brought you Avengers Endgame. That's why they're on board. A bit of money. The series will reportedly focus on an all-new storyline, but it will involve Magic the Gathering's famed planeswalkers as they contend with stakes larger than any one world can hold. So it states this is the anime programming at Netflix. The announcement came and it says, Magic is a beloved global franchise with a massively engaged fan base that has only continued to grow over the last 25 years. I tried to play Magic the Gathering. Love the artwork, love the lore. Couldn't overly get involved in the the card game itself, but I really did like it, and I liked the expansiveness of what they had created. So it says that there's no one better suited to bring this story to audiences around the world than Joe and Anthony Russo, whose talent for genre storytelling is unmatched. That's debatable, as demonstrated by their central role in creating some of the biggest box office hits of all time. Again, whether that's down to their success or down to the success of the last 10 years of Marvel is debatable, highly. I don't debate that they haven't made good movies. That's fine. But this is all PR spin right now. So that's all that this article had. And then if we go here, there's a lot more information. So it's actually Universal and Hasbro started working on a Magic the Gathering movie in 2009. So that was dropped. So that's interesting. But then Fox picked up the film rights. They attached Simon Kinberg to produce. It's basically been a long and arduous road to get to this. Now, the main parts of this is the IP has since found its way over to Netflix as an animated TV show. Now, one that's been overseen by noteworthy creatives, as a streaming service announced it in its press release today. So it says, per Netflix announcement, it says they have true passion for the project. They will oversee the creation of an all-new storyline. So stuff that we've already just read in the first bit. It says up-and-coming animation studio Octopi will oversee production on Magic the Gathering. Now that's interesting snippets of information. So it says with its CEO Isaac Krause promising the TV series will cross the genres of suspenseful, thriller, horror, and drama with deeply developed characters, the likes of which are not often seen in animation. So it doesn't look like they're plainly going for PG-13 or like children-friendly content here. I mean, you can have horror which is PG-13 friendly, of course, but it sounds like they're aiming this kind of middle of the road to appease multiple age brackets, which is good. That bodes really well, especially considering the likes of some of the Star Wars shows that have come out. They do appeal to, multiple age ranges there as well. So it says Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and the Lego Movie series story artist, again, this is important, Yoriaki Mochizuki will act as a supervising director. So that's very, very good. That bodes really well. Whatever you think of the Lego Movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has done very, very well. Its animation is very, very good. The art is very, very good. So that's great. To have him on board as a supervising director is fantastic. And it says, in addition to being a producer. So again, great. He has a good amount of say. It says, all in all, the show certainly isn't hurting for talent as far as all creative teams' credentials are concerned. So it says, for Netflix, Magic the Gathering gives them another series to add to their growing collection of original animated shows meant for older viewers. So it is meant for older viewers. That's really, really good. I think with respect to this, I think this bodes really, really well. I think maybe this comes on the heels of Love, Death and Robots, that animated series, the kind of anthology. I think this bodes really, really well. I genuinely think this bodes very, very well for it. I'll be keen to watch this. I will be keen to see how this develops and progresses. But what do you guys think? Are you fans of Magic the Gathering? Let me know down below in the comment section. Will you be watching this? It would appear Netflix is now, because they've really, they've really peaked and troughed with their original properties recently. It's kind of like a changing of the guard, it seems, that we're getting now. Some of the original properties which has been trashed recently, and a lot of people are kind of disenfranchised with Netflix currently, but it seems like they're trying to get a newer audience back on board, or the same audience back on board with these better properties that they've got. So, yeah, I think this bodes well. So, guys, just before we get into this piece of news, I've had to film this in retrospect, but big spoilers ahead for Godzilla King of the Monsters. I forgot to say it as I pushed into this news, so full spoilers ahead for this. But yeah, there you go. But hey, look, let's get to the main piece today. Yes, I'm on Godzilla King of the Monsters website, this weird sci-fi website. But Monsterverse, Gigan, Kumonga, and Gamera. Few things to note, it's not Gamera. It's not. But Gigan and Kumonga maybe. Gigan, definitely, as you can see. Now, this is actually in the official art, the Making and Art of book by Titan Publishing. Now, with respect to this particular book, I have mine on order. It's coming soon. And actually, I have agreed with Titan Publishing to be able to do a giveaway of 3 copies of this book. So stay tuned for my channel for that coming up soon. There'll be a separate video on all of that. I'll do a review of the book as well. I'll probably just sit down, scan some pages and stuff like that, and just discuss, you know, certain key elements whilst I do the giveaway for it. So this obviously just comes to us from this book. These tend to reveal quite a lot of information, but it says breaking. In a bizarre and unexpected twist, the official Godzilla King of the Monsters art book has been released via Barnes & Noble. I mean, that's not shocking or unexpected or bizarre. It was going to be released. In fact, its embargo was released the moment Godzilla King of the Monsters was released. And inside the book is a plethora of official concept art for Mike Dougherty's Godzilla sequel. Two concepts in particular have us very excited since they depict a very clear image of a monsterverse Gigan, kumonga, and Gamera? Question mark. Well, maybe not Gamera since he isn't a Toho monster. It's definitely not Gamera. Can't be. But Gigan and kumonga, I would say, I mean, this is undoubtedly Gigan, isn't it? Absolutely it is. But it's an interesting take on Gigan. I mean, these are like horns. It's not looking like that giant, you know, space chicken that we've had before. This is an interesting take on Gigan. And what beautiful artwork is that? That's fantastic. I would imagine, from what I can ascertain from this image, this is probably the end sequence to the film. So, yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, this is interesting. This is really, really interesting to me. With respect to this one being kumonga here, and then obviously this turtle, which they're saying is Gamera, I would say that this potentially could be an early adaptation of the creature that which we've got in the film, which is like some spider crab looking thing. This being Gamera, or Gamera, as it were. I mean, it can't be, because it's not a Toho monster. It'd be very unlikely that they had come to that deal. But this is good. I mean, this is all really, really fascinating stuff here. With respect to this one in particular, this is the most telling. It looks very ape-like as well. I mean, you can't really see its hands and things like that, but it's very ape-like. This structure here looks more like horns. It's not really cybernetic. Doesn't look like a giant space chicken thing. I like it. I think it looks really, really great. I'm really, really happy with how this has all come together. So when I get the actual book itself, I need to get on that and figure out when it's actually arriving. I will do a review and breakdown, because there'll probably be some snippets of information about all of these titans and things like that. But would you have liked to have seen Gigan in this form here? Obviously, the information is limited, but would you like to have seen Gigan? Let me know down below. It just seems like concept more than anything else. Just early kind of concept work. This being kumonga is debatable, just because it's just a giant spider. I mean, Toho doesn't own the rights to a giant spider. It's just a giant spider. And this being Gamera is so unlikely, just because it's not a Toho monster. So, again, cross titles like that is quite unlikely. But I like the look of this, so I hand it over to you. What do you guys think down below in the comment section? Right, guys, we actually have some time for some viewer questions today. We've got one viewer question, so let's get involved in that. And if you do want your viewer questions answered on this daily show, the wrap-up, please do send them over to me on the Gmails, mishreviews@gmail.com, using the subject line, the wrap-up. So, a viewer question today comes to us from Valerio. He, or she, because I'm not particularly great with names, has asked, now that Godzilla is the king of the monsters and all the other titans have awoken, do you think that when it's time for the G-Man to fight Kong, the other titans will back Godzilla against Kong? Also, do you think Kong received Ghidorah's call? Thanks. That's a really interesting question. Thank you so much for asking it, Valerio. With respect to that, I mean, Godzilla's proven himself, right? Godzilla has proven himself. I almost think that there could be like two double factions, you know? Some of the titans have awoken, and obviously they accepted Ghidorah's call and they came to where Ghidorah was. Ultimately, they witnessed Godzilla destroying Ghidorah and then bowed to Godzilla. But I think with respect to that, I think you'll have those ones obviously 100% being respectful of Godzilla. He is the alpha at that moment in time. But the other titans didn't witness it. So I think ultimately there's a lot of titans which will be with Kong and also with Godzilla. I think maybe we could see potentially like a double faction thing, you know, factions on either side. Because there was, you know, in the newspaper clippings and things like that, there's comments of Godzilla going around, other Titans still coming into line and things like that. So I think will be a display of his dominance as he goes through all of this. But I think that's probably what happened. With respect to Kong receiving Ghidorah's call, I don't know, actually. I think that's how they were trying to tease Kong getting off Skull Island, but then also all the seismic activity. There's an awful lot of... There's some kind of contradictions when you were to read some of the kind of newspaper clippings that were coming up in the credits. So I think potentially, but then also all the seismic activity indicates to me that probably not. Or maybe that's just the hollow earth based off of the explosion which we saw in Godzilla, King of the Monsters, in Godzilla's lair. But hopefully that answers your question, kind of. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, Valeria. Let me know down below in the comments. What do you think? Same question right back at you. And then everyone else, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this stuff down below in the comment section. As always, guys, if you are new here, thank you so much for watching. But please do hit subscribe and hit that bell notification icon. I've had a lot of people going, have you even released your Godzilla King of the Monsters review? Yes! I released it last Wednesday before the movie was out. So please do hit those bell notifications. It really does help you get notified of all of the videos that I do here on the channel. But guys, if you want to stay up to date on the wrap up, again, hit subscribe, give this video a like and a share. And as always, I've been Mr. H. Take care.